Hello everyone. My name is Harold Peterson, and I'm 82 years old. I was born and raised in a small Midwestern town here in the United States. When my wife passed away about 10 years ago, I found myself in a situation many older folks face. I needed daily assistance with my health and basic tasks. My children suggested a nursing home. At first it felt like a reasonable solution, a place where trained professionals would care for me, where I'd supposedly have a community of friends my own age. After all, the brochures promised a vibrant environment with plenty of social activities. But the reality turned out to be very different. Over time, I started to regret my decision. And as I sit here, reflecting on the path my life has taken, I can't help but wonder if there was a better option for me, maybe an in-home caregiver, or perhaps moving in with a family member who was willing to share their space. Now, don't get me wrong, a nursing home can be a good choice under certain circumstances. But there are some hard truths I learned that I wish I had fully understood before I moved into one. Today, I want to share 7 of those hard truths rooted in 6 major regrets plus 1 extra reality check. Because if you're considering a nursing home for yourself or for a loved one, I believe you deserve to know the whole story. I hope my personal experiences will serve as a warning, but also as a guide. It's never too late to make informed decisions about your well-being or the well-being of someone you love. And while you're watching, feel free to comment with the number 2, 4, or 6 whenever something truly resonates with you. I'd love to know your thoughts. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos about aging, independence, and real-life lessons from those of us who have walked this road. Regret 1: losing my sense of independence. From the time I was a boy, I was taught the value of standing on my own 2 feet. Living through America's changing times, recessions, wars, technological booms taught me resilience. I took pride in doing things for myself, whether it was fixing a leaky faucet or mowing the lawn. When I first arrived at the nursing home, however, that sense of independence slowly started slipping away. The problem: at a nursing home, most tasks are handled for you. Meals are prepared on a set schedule, medications are administered by staff, and every aspect of daily life is monitored. While it may sound convenient, what really happens is that you gradually lose the ability or the desire to do things on your own. Before I knew it, I had staff members helping me dress, staff members taking me to the dining hall at the same time every day, and staff members handling my laundry, even when I felt capable of folding my own shirts. How it got worse: this over-reliance on caregivers created a cycle of dependence. Once the staff assumed I needed help with everything, it became harder to prove I could manage certain tasks myself. My body grew weaker because I wasn't moving around as much. My confidence dropped because I rarely had the chance to solve problems independently. You might think, well, if you need help, that's what they're there for. But losing autonomy at 82 can feel like losing a big part of your identity. The warning: if you too value your independence, be warned that a nursing home environment might diminish it more quickly than you anticipate. I've seen neighbors in the home, people who once took pride in their independence, slowly become almost childlike, waiting for permission for every little thing. It can be heartbreaking. A gentle quote I remember my father used to say: "Independence is the air a man breathes, take it away, and you take away his spirit." Those words ring so true when you find yourself always asking for help. If the idea of losing your independence worries you, comment with the number 2 right now. Let me know I'm not alone in regretting the loss of the freedom I once cherished. And of course, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button to hear more personal stories about the realities of aging. Regret 2: isolation in a crowd. One of the biggest promises that convinced me to enter a nursing home was the prospect of constant companionship, people my age to talk to, communal activities, and that warm sense of camaraderie. Ironically, I found that while I was surrounded by residents and staff, I often felt lonelier than I ever did living on my own. The problem: yes, there were people all around me, but meaningful connections were surprisingly scarce. Many residents were dealing with their own health or cognitive challenges. Staff members, while generally kind, were often overworked. They didn't have the time to sit and chat about old movies or the grandchildren I rarely saw. I'd watch the clock until visiting hours, hoping someone from my family might walk through the doors. Most days they didn't. How it got worse: because the nursing home had strict schedules for meals, therapy sessions, and bedtime, I found it difficult to break out of my routine. Social gatherings felt forced: bingo nights, group sing-alongs, or a communal TV lounge. I tried to join in, but there's a difference between being in the same room with people and genuinely connecting with them. Over time, I felt an even deeper sense of isolation, as though I was just another patient number, rather than a person with stories, dreams, and feelings. The warning: if you crave genuine relationships, be prepared for the possibility that a nursing home might not fulfill that emotional need. It's a hard pill to swallow, but a structured environment often leads to superficial interactions. You might share space, but not necessarily share hearts. It's a bit like being at a crowded bus stop, where no one wants to make eye contact. A familiar saying: there's a saying I once read in a greeting card: loneliness doesn't always come from being alone. It comes from feeling that nobody cares. It perfectly sums up how I felt some evenings, even though there were 40 other residents in the same building. If you've ever felt alone in a crowd, share your experience by commenting with the number 4 below. It helps to know we're not the only ones wrestling with these feelings. And while you're at it, remember to like this video if you're finding it eye-opening. Regret 3: financial strain and unexpected costs. Finances are something we often don't like talking about, but let me tell you, money matters. I worked my whole life to save for retirement. I always thought that my pension and Social Security would cover most of my elderly care. But once I moved into a nursing home, I quickly realized just how expensive it can be. The problem: nursing homes in the United States can cost a fortune, thousands upon thousands of dollars every month. Initially, it seemed like my insurance and savings would handle it. But then there were additional fees for specialized care, medication management, physical therapy, and even basic necessities like adult diapers or nutritional supplements that weren't fully covered. I remember receiving my first full statement and nearly falling off my chair. How it got worse: over time, my savings depleted faster than I imagined. I found myself having to dip into the financial safety nets I had hoped to leave for my children. That created tension within my family. My kids were concerned about how long my savings would last. It's painful to think that my final years might leave them burdened with financial worries, or that I might outlive my resources and have to rely on Medicaid, which might limit my choices even further. The warning: if you're considering a nursing home, be absolutely thorough about the costs. Don't just look at the base fee. Ask about hidden charges for therapies, specialized equipment, or personal care items. Once you're already living there, it's not so simple to negotiate or change your mind without major disruptions to your life and health. A bit of hard-earned wisdom: my grandfather always told me, a penny saved is a penny earned, but a penny lost in old age feels like a piece of your future slipping away. Truer words were never spoken. When you see your life's earnings dwindle, it can be terrifying. If you worry about finances, or if you've witnessed someone struggle with medical bills, comment 6 down below. Let's open this dialogue, because finances can be a huge factor in our healthcare decisions. And if you want to keep learning from real experiences, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Regret 4: the emotional toll of a rigid routine. Freedom, as I mentioned earlier, is crucial to our sense of self. In a nursing home, much of your daily schedule is determined by administrative policies. You eat at this time, you bathe at that time, you watch TV during these hours. There is little room for spontaneity. The problem: at first I tried to embrace the routine, thinking it might bring structure to my day. However, over the months I started to feel trapped. Waking up at 6 a.m. because the staff needed to check vitals, being ushered to the dining hall at 7:30 a.m. on the dot. These were not choices I made. I felt like I was living in someone else's plan, day after day. How it got worse: with time, this rigid schedule wore me down emotionally. I couldn't decide to skip breakfast and sleep in, or stay up late just to read a good book. Even small acts of rebellion, like refusing to take a shower at the designated time, led to concerned staff knocking on my door. It's not that they were unkind, it's that the facility's policies demanded uniformity to keep everything organized. That may be efficient from a managerial standpoint, but it can suffocate a person's spirit. The warning: if you value the simple pleasures of life, like taking a walk when the sun is just right, or eating dinner at 9 p.m. because you feel like it, understand that a nursing home can strip these freedoms away. It might seem trivial now, but when you're older and your choices are already limited by health, Losing the power to decide what to do with your day can be devastating. An old-time reminder. I recall an expression from my younger years: variety is the spice of life. When you live in a place where variety is replaced by strict routine, life's spice can fade quickly. Have you or a loved one felt suffocated by someone else's schedule? If you have, comment with the number 2 again. Your experiences matter. And please, don't forget to like this video and share it if you find these insights valuable. Regret 5. Surrounded by decline and negativity. This one is tough to talk about, but it's a reality. Nursing homes gather people who are, by and large, in the declining stages of life. While there are success stories, folks who regain mobility or who find companionship, there is also a great deal of sadness. People dealing with dementia, chronic pain, or severe disabilities. The problem, being surrounded by so much decline, can weigh heavily on the mind. It's not that I begrudge anyone for having illnesses or struggles, I have my own. But constantly witnessing failing health can create an atmosphere of hopelessness. One day, you're chatting with a resident about the weather. The next day, they've declined to the point they barely recognize you. How it got worse. Over time, I noticed I was becoming more depressed. The environment felt like a hospital ward rather than a home. We had more funerals than I cared to count. You'd see an empty chair where a friend used to sit. The staff would do a short memorial service and then everything moved on because the routines had to continue. It's a reminder day in and day out of your own mortality. The warning. Before you choose a nursing home, consider the emotional impact. There is a psychological cost to living in a place where you see so many forms of decline up close. If you thrive on positivity, you might have to fight extra hard to maintain your optimism. Some people can handle it, others might find it utterly draining. A gentle quote. My mother used to say, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." Now, it's not that I believe I'm doomed, but in an environment where everyone is struggling, it's hard to see a bright future for yourself. If you believe in the power of a supportive community to lift your spirits, or if you've ever felt weighed down by negative surroundings, comment with the number 4. It helps to share these experiences. And stay with me to the end of this video, because we'll talk about some constructive ways to handle these challenges. Regret 6. Missing out on family moments. Family is everything to me. I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. When I moved into the nursing home, I assumed they'd visit regularly. After all, we used to gather for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthdays without fail. But life got busy for them. My kids had their careers, the grandkids had college, and everyone lived across different states. The problem? Despite my family's best intentions, visits became less frequent. Even phone calls tapered off after a while. Meanwhile, I was confined to a facility that had set visiting hours, sometimes an hour or 2 away from where they lived. Scheduling was a nightmare. I wanted to attend my grandson's high school graduation, but physically getting there was complicated. I needed special transport approval, staff assistance, and a sign-out procedure that felt like checking out of a hotel. How it got worse. Over time, I realized how many precious milestones I was missing. Birthdays, recitals, Sunday barbecues. Even smaller moments like going to the park with my family became a distant memory. The guilt and sadness piled up. My grandchildren grew older and I felt I barely knew them anymore. Meanwhile, my children felt guilty for not visiting often enough, which added tension to our relationships. The warning: if staying close to family events is a top priority, you may regret living in a nursing home. Even in the best managed facilities, you're not entirely free to come and go as you please. And your family, no matter how loving, may find it harder to visit than they originally planned. Life moves on outside those walls, and you might feel like a bystander looking in through a locked gate. An old saying for family. My late wife used to remind me, at the end of the day, all we have is each other. Being separated from each other can make the final years of life feel hollow. If you think family moments are worth fighting for, comment with the number 6 down below. And please consider sharing this video with someone who might be wrestling with a similar choice. The 7th hard truth: it's not always the best or only option. We've discussed 6 major regrets I have from living in a nursing home. But here's the 7th hard truth that ties them all together. A nursing home isn't always the best or only solution for elder care. Our society, especially here in the US, often makes it seem like the default path once you reach a certain age or health condition is to move into such a facility. Yet alternatives exist. Home health aides, assisted living communities with more independence, or living with family who can provide support. The problem: many of us feel pressured. Perhaps our adult children worry about our safety at home alone. Maybe we had a fall or a health scare. Doctors and social workers may suggest a nursing home for round-the-clock care. But in that rush of fear and concern, we don't always explore all the options. How it gets overlooked. For instance, if you only need help with cooking or medication reminders, a part-time home health aide might suffice. If you crave social interaction but don't want to lose autonomy, an assisted living facility where you can have your own apartment and more freedom might be a better fit. Yet many people jump straight into a full-scale nursing home, not realizing the emotional, financial, and personal consequences of that decision. The reality check: I wish I had known all my options before I moved in. Don't misunderstand, I'm not saying every nursing home is terrible. I've met residents who truly do thrive there, especially if they need more intensive medical care. But for someone like me, still able to walk, still craving independence, and longing for meaningful social connections, there may have been a better arrangement. A thought-provoking quote. I recall my old friend Bert used to say, "Sometimes you have to look around the corner before you decide which road to take." In other words, do your homework. Talk to people who've lived in various forms of elder care. Ask if they'd do it the same way if they had another chance. If you believe in exploring every possibility, home care, assisted living, or living with family, comment 2 one more time. It might spark a valuable conversation about how we can best honor our later years without rushing into a decision we may regret. Final thoughts. I know this has been a long and somewhat heavy conversation, and if you've stayed with me to the end, thank you. My goal isn't to condemn nursing homes entirely. They do serve a valuable purpose, especially for those who need constant medical attention and have limited support systems at home. But it's crucial to understand the full reality, the regrets, the emotional struggles, and the hidden challenges before making such a life-altering decision. If you or a loved one is at the crossroads of considering a nursing home, remember these 3 deep life lessons I've gathered from my own experience. 1. Cherish and protect your independence. Once lost, it's incredibly hard to get back. 2. Stay connected with the people who matter, whether it's family or friends. Nurturing those relationships can bring you joy that no amount of structured activities can replace. 3. Weigh all your options. Life is precious and fleeting. Don't leap into a choice that might deprive you of freedom, companionship, and financial security if there's a better alternative out there. If you found anything in my story relatable or helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more real-life insights. Feel free to comment with any number 2, 4, or 6 that stands out most to you, and share your personal story. Your experiences may guide someone else who's facing the same decision. And finally, I want to leave you with a bit of hope. Even if you're already in a nursing home, it's not too late to seek changes, speak up about your needs, or explore alternative arrangements. Life doesn't end when you walk through those doors. You always have a choice, no matter how small, to make the rest of your journey more meaningful. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Harold Peterson, 82 years old, hoping to remind you that every chapter of life is worth living on your own terms. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next video.